This week on Business Brief, we look at the economic factors impacting turkey prices, then how farming is becoming an increasingly high-tech career. Welcome to Business Brief, Missouri Business Alert's podcast focused on the business news and issues shaping the state. My name is Noah Grabianski, and I'm joined by my co-host, Riley Hindle. Riley, how are you doing this week?
I'm doing good, but I am really excited for the holiday next week. I'm looking forward to the good food that I know my family will cook and then getting to travel with them as well. So what are your plans?
I am also seeing family. I'm traveling out to New York to go see some family. I love New York this time of year.
Yeah, Big Apple, all that good stuff. But it also sounds like we are going to have a very busy travel season because we are probably going to be among the 82 million Americans traveling for Thanksgiving this year. AAA expects travel for the holiday this year to set a new record.
I mean, it sounds like we might be in for long lines at the airport and lots of traffic on the roads, but we don't have to wait to get into these headlines. Start us off.
President Donald Trump announced last week that he would cut tariffs on beef, coffee, tropical fruits, and other items that are common purchases at the grocery store. The move comes as the president has faced mounting pressure from voters who have cited high prices and economic concerns as their top issues. The White House said that some of the tariffs were no longer necessary due to trade agreements that have been reached with key U.S. trading partners.
The U.S. economy added 119,000 jobs in September, according to a key labor report that had been delayed for weeks due to the federal government shutdown. The number of jobs added exceeded economists' expectations, more than doubling the 50,000 job gains forecasted. Other aspects of the job report remain troubling, as unemployment rose and revisions to August job gains actually saw the economy lose 4,000 jobs instead of gaining 22,000 as originally reported.
At least 25 bills have been introduced in Congress that could ban members from trading individual stocks. A bipartisan group of lawmakers are renewing pressure on U.S. House Speaker Mike Johnson to take up the issue and revamp the 2012 Stop Trading on Congressional Knowledge Act. However, new legislation would face a tough road over questions about how penalties for violations would be enforced.
Missouri's Attorney General Catherine Hanaway is seeking approval from the U.S. Department of State to begin identifying Chinese-owned properties to seize. The request stems from a court ruling in April that ordered the Chinese government pay Missouri $24 billion for hoarding personal protective equipment, or PPE, during the COVID-19 pandemic. Any properties seized from Chinese or Chinese-backed businesses would then be sold to satisfy the judgment.
Missouri utility regulators approved a new tariff for large power users such as data centers. The proposal was submitted by Evergy, which operates in both Missouri and Kansas. The tariff is intended to ensure that large power users pay for their fair share of the effect their usage has on the power grid and other customers.
Vehicle maker Toyota announced that it will add a new production line to its facility in Troy to create cylinder heads that meet growing demand for hybrid vehicles. The company plans to invest $57.1 million and create 57 new jobs. The new production line is expected to open in 2027. Our first story today looks at the economic factors affecting turkey farmers and what that might mean for the price of Thanksgiving turkeys this year. Riley, this is your story, so give us the rundown.
Yeah, so I spoke with Wyatt Thompson. He's a professor of agriculture and applied economics at the University of Missouri. He said some of the main factors influencing the industry are tariffs and a resurgence of highly pathogenic avian influenza. Here's that conversation. Professor Wyatt Thompson, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today. So starting out broadly, when it comes to farmers in Missouri, what are some of the economic factors affecting turkey farmers?
So last year was exciting for turkey producers in maybe all the wrong ways. One nice thing maybe for turkey producers was that some of the feed prices had fallen relative to some highs back in 2022. So grain and protein meal they buy, those prices seem to have gone down for many of them, if not most of them. On the other hand, highly pathogenic avian influenza spread as well, and that took a toll. There were many birds that were destroyed for that reason. And so millions of birds were lost, which of course affects supply. There are USDA policies for compensation for costs for lost birds that had to be destroyed, but still that was a blow to the supply of turkeys. But at the same time, last year was really stunning to me because it looked like demand just caved in.
Yeah, that's really interesting that the demand fell because when you think turkey, you're like, well, obviously that's a Thanksgiving thing.
Even though the price fell a lot, people actually bought less in aggregate. And maybe there are a few people out there really budget conscious and they really grabbed an extra turkey, but most people didn't.
Yeah.
And so really a big surprise this year is that demand seems really to have stabilized. That this year, the price is up a lot at the wholesale level. There's less availability because of last year's blow to the profitability, plus continued HPAI concerns, avian influenza concerns. But the demand seems to have stepped up. Prices at the wholesale is up 40 to 50% range for the years on average.
Yeah, bird flu is on the rise again, and it's probably at the forefront of a lot of people's minds coming up. But how are tariffs playing into this story as well?
So trade can be very important for many agricultural commodities. And for Turkey, we do export. I guess maybe about 10% of the production's exported roughly. But for imports, it's just not that big a deal. And throughout this discussion, I rely heavily on USDA data. So we're really lucky to have it. And there you can see the imports of Turkey are less than 1% of the domestics of the total supply. So while we do import some turkey, it's not a big deal for our market as it currently stands. Maybe in some wild future, you could imagine it could matter, but at least in the last several years, it's not been a big share.
Are there other parts of farm operations that are being affected?
Other things are related, right? So if you think about beef and turkey, if you know people might substitute between roast beef and turkey sandwiches, or between buying turkey or roast or beef for other purposes, then maybe a beef import tariff has an indirect effect on turkey. Or if there are import tariffs on inputs that go into crop production, things that affect crop producer profitability and crop production, that will indirectly affect the feed costs of the turkey producers. So, for example, in the recent days, there's been discussion of import tariffs on beef being reduced or waived. Some of that, like the retaliatory tariffs, not all of them, but some, or maybe on fertilizers. So such tariffs could have indirect effects on the turkey market, even if maybe we don't normally think of it because turkey imports don't look big.
So consumers probably got used to seeing that lower sticker price last year, right? So what should they keep in mind as they're shopping for their Thanksgiving dinner this year?
We think about turkey and seeing it in sandwiches that are pre-made, or at a restaurant in a sandwich, or as a whole turkey at a certain time of year when it might be sold on promotion because maybe it's part of an advertising strategy of a firm has to try and encourage people to about when they choose where to shop. So the prices that come to consumers, it always will vary. It'll vary about where they are, how carefully they shop, how much time they put into it, where they can find that deal. So there's a lot going on. But I would generally say that given the wholesale price patterns, your best chance to buy a cheaper turkey might have been 12 months ago. And you might have to struggle a bit harder if you want to save money there this year.
Thank you so much again for taking the time to talk with me today.
My pleasure. Take care.
For our next story, we'll take a look at a career that is becoming increasingly more high-tech: farming.
When I think about high-tech careers, farming is definitely not the first one that comes to mind. So how are farmers integrating technology into their labor?
Well, many farmers have turned to precision agriculture, which refers to the use of tools and practices that aim to boost efficiency in farming equipment and help farmers make more accurate and informed decisions.
And I assume this must be a relatively new practice in agriculture?
Actually, no, it's been used by farmers across the Midwest for over 20 years, though the tools have gotten more advanced in recent years. Jana Rose Schleiss, a reporter with our partner newsroom KBIA, spoke with farmers and experts to learn more.
Just above and to the right of farmer Thad Becker's steering wheel in his John Deere combine is a screen about the size of an iPad.
I've got readouts on yield and current moisture of the crop, how many acres I've done, how many total bushels I've harvested in the field, and I've got a lot of other options too.
Becker is harvesting this year's soybean crop in a farm field near Mexico, Missouri. After turning the massive machine around at the end of each row, he selects an option from the screen beside him, and the combine takes over.
You can see this red line on the screen, and that's the line we're on. And it's showing these two black lines are my next pass and my last pass.
As the vehicle makes its way across the field collecting soybeans, the numbers on Becker's screen inside the cab update every 2 to 3 seconds, measuring the amount harvested in each area, along with calculations on the grain's weight and moisture. This high-tech type of farming is called precision agriculture. Put simply, it's about inputs and outputs, using data to assess exactly what farmers put into the soil to produce a successful crop.
When you take a look at weeds across a field, they're not uniformly spaced across a field. You'll have clumps here and clumps there.
Jason Norsworthy is a University of Arkansas professor of weed science. He grew up on a small vegetable farm in south central Arkansas.
It was intense labor. Weed control was a major component of what we fought on a daily basis.
Norsworthy's made a career of suppressing weeds. He conducts research trials to test the effectiveness of precision agriculture tools and says this type of farming differs from broadcasting chemical products over an entire field.
It's an avenue to reduce the amount of herbicides that you're going to place out there on that acre, and if they're not needed, why spray them?
The first precision agriculture tools hit the market approximately 20 years ago. The number of farmers using this technology has steadily climbed.
Farming has become such a high-tech area, at least the kind of commodity farming that's dominant in Iowa has become such a high-tech occupation, really.
Jay Arbuckle is an Iowa State University rural sociologist who conducts the annual Iowa Farm and Rural Life Survey. He's been polling farmers about precision agriculture. Many farmers felt the use of data-driven tech had resulted in at least some positive benefits, and almost 3/4 agreed that keeping up with changing precision technologies feels like a never-ending treadmill.
The farmers that are able to increase their yields and reduce their costs, they can stay on the treadmill, but every generation we lose another set of farmers, another subgroup or percentage of farmers.
For Thad Becker, the price of his farm technology quickly adds up.
This piece is $5,000, the GPS is $2,500. The kit to actually monitor the yield inside the combine, all that hardware is $3,000. Seems to go in $4,000 chunks at a time.
Becker says he has been able to recoup the cost of his investment through seed and herbicide savings. And along with the majority of farmers in the survey, precision agriculture tools have boosted Becker's confidence when making decisions for his farm. And he says it's hard to put a price on that.
And now it's time for us to get into our words of the week. Riley, what is your word this week?
My word is sweet potatoes.
Ah, yes, sweet potatoes, a common staple of Thanksgiving dinner.
Yeah, anyone who loves them is in luck this year, as many mid-Missouri farmers reported bountiful sweet potato harvests this season. It was a good year for the root vegetable, as they grow best in hot, dry conditions.
That's kind of surprising, considering most crops in the U.S. are the opposite.
Yeah, exactly. So there should be no shortage of them on Missouri tables for holiday meals this year. That's all I've got this week. What's your word, Noah?
My word is ticks.
Oh no, do you mean the creepy crawly bloodsuckers?
I sure do. The Lone Star tick, which you might have heard of, is a common variety found throughout Missouri, and their bites can cause something called alpha-gal syndrome.
What's that?
It's commonly thought of as a red meat allergy, although that isn't entirely accurate. What's actually happening is that people have an allergic reaction to a specific sugar molecule that is introduced through the tick bite. The molecule is also found in other mammalian products like dairy, natural flavors, and processing aids.
So how do people with alpha-gal syndrome identify what foods contain that sugar molecule?
That's the issue that Sharon Forsyth, the creator of the Alpha-Gal Alliance, is trying to address. She's working to get legislation passed that would require the U.S. Food and Drug Administration to add the alpha-gal sugar molecule to the list of major food allergens.
I'm sure that would give a lot of people peace of mind when deciding what's safe to consume.
The legislation was introduced in February, and Forsyth is optimistic about its progress so far. And now it's time for our closing thought. For our closing thought today, here's Wyatt Thompson, the professor of agriculture and applied economics that we heard from earlier, on why people might still purchase a turkey despite projected price increases.
But still, it's not to say that it's not still a good buy, so to speak. I'm talking about year-over-year price changes, and that doesn't say anything about a comparison between the price of a pound of turkey and the price of a pound of an alternative that someone might consider, or just how much they want a turkey. There's a reason why people are choosing to buy almost as much as before at a price that's more than 40% higher at wholesale. Maybe it's hard to find something you want instead of turkey, and maybe at these prices, most people think it's still a good deal.
Well, that is all for this week. The M33 Project provided the music for this episode. For my co-host Riley Hindle and editors Trevor Grandin, Kayla Grimshaw, Kelly DeRook, and Michael Stacy, I'm Noah Grabianski, and this has been Business Brief. Thank you for listening, and we'll talk to you in 2 weeks. Happy Thanksgiving.